Welcome back to the United Pubcast, home of the Carabao Cup champions, Manchester United, still in full celebration mode, as I'm sure many other Reds are around the world. Still happy days, Larry. Yes, okay, we've got Cup football now. Yes, we're going to look forward to a title race and matches away at Anfield in a couple of days' time. But at the moment, I'm still walking around work telling people we've won a trophy. So talk to me about your last couple of days.
It's been unreal and still buzzing, to be honest. I'm still high on Erik ten Hag's comments, Tom. I'm telling you something. I don't know about what's in the air at the moment, but I'm in love with Erik ten Hag at the moment. Happy days.
Did you read that sort of open letter was put out on the Man United app?
No.
What did you make of it?
I haven't had a chance to read it. I saw the email, but I haven't had a chance to have a read of it yet. So please inform me and the listeners. What lovely words has Erik ten Hag had to say?
It's a weird one. You know me, when things are released on the Man United website or social media, and my cynicism towards sort of, is it real? Is it Erik ten Hag's words or is it PR by the club? I think it's maybe a little bit of both. Maybe had to find a happy middle ground, but ultimately we're going to take it at face value in terms of Erik ten Hag. Now, maybe it wasn't his full grammatical English, in terms of it was, I think, sort of worded quite nicely. But ultimately, we do have to take Erik ten Hag as sort of the genuine character he does come across. And ultimately, he was just sort of saying, thank you for the fans for the support. We do appreciate it. We do feel it. Of what I've tried to instill in these players is, I know how much this means to you, and we as players, in order to perform at the highest level and achieve what we want to achieve, we have to appreciate what the fans want. We have to appreciate how much the fans love this club. And he's just saying, sort of, trust me, we do. And we're working hard. So again, is this good PR from the club or from Erik ten Hag's heart? I'm not sure. Because I'm in a positive mood at the moment, I want to say it's straight from Erik ten Hag. But look, it ultimately just adds to the feel-good factor. And I think it's a nice thing. I'm not sure anything like that came out under Louis van Gaal. To be fair, he was sacked the next day, so he had no choice to get any. He had no option to get any words out. But Jose Mourinho, obviously, in my opinion, look, and I like Jose Mourinho. That was never coming out after a trophy. But Erik ten Hag has taken that approach, which was a good thing. And I'll just say good day to some people in the live chat. Justin, good to see you. Dion, as always, appreciate it, mate. And George as well. Which we'll get into the FA Cup. Presume a heavy rotation. Erik ten Hag will have. We'll have enough star players on to win. We'll be interested in terms of, I think it has to be heavy rotation, but even when I do look at my heavily rotated side, it's still full of internationals. It's still a team that goes and beats a team who's in the relegation battle. Now, ultimately, it is a tough game. In cup football, anything can happen. But I think in regards to what we have achieved so far this season, and we have achieved something, and what is sort of yet to play for this season, I think if there's one game this season for the rest of the season you can rotate, it is this weekend against West Ham. Maybe you could look at maybe a second leg against Betis if we win the first leg, potentially. But at the moment, the only time we could really rotate is here against West Ham. So, Larry, is there anything you do want to touch on off the back of the performance and result against Newcastle, or anything that ties into this week in the FA Cup?
No, Tom, I think really what we just need to focus on and what will be really interesting to see, will Erik ten Hag rotate? Obviously, anyone who started against Newcastle, I don't want to see him start this game. And I know we've both got our starting 11s and we'll bring those up in a moment. But, I think that was a game where you and I both questioned ten Hag. It was actually in the League Cup, wasn't it? I think it was the second leg where we said against Nottingham Forest, where he said he's gotten it wrong here. He played such a strong team. And I think this is another example of he's not getting much wrong, but it would be an absolute mistake here. While you want to see us win every trophy, like we said yesterday, look, the FA Cup in the grand scheme of things is bigger than the Carabao Cup, but it's still a competition where English clubs enter. They all play. There's nothing for United to achieve by winning the FA Cup this season. Play the kids. If we progress, great. If not, then that's fine. I think we got bigger fish to fry this season.
Obviously, we're looking towards a title race, and yes, we are in a title race. In terms of Erik ten Hag sort of putting all the eggs in one basket, though, and if he's a betting man, and the likelihood of Manchester United winning the title is still quite low. So you say there's sort of nothing to achieve out of sort of winning the FA Cup this season. If Erik ten Hag is sitting there, what do you think his view towards the Premier League title is in regards to, okay, if he wins 2 cups this season, that is achieving a hell of a lot. I'm just thinking if he thinks no matter what I do this season in the league, I don't think I'll be able to cross that line. I don't think we'll have enough to sort of get past City or Arsenal, but I do have enough to win an FA Cup and suddenly I have 2 trophies. So could he actually be potentially prioritised? Now, obviously, we have to throw the Europa into this as well, but is there a situation where he actually prioritises the FA Cup? Not prioritises it, but sort of really sees it as a far more valuable option than the league?
But you see, Tom, that is the cynic in you and every other Manchester United fan saying we're not in a title race. If you're Eric Ten Hag, you're 5 points off.
I'm saying Eric Ten Hag, do you think he truly, what do you think he has better chance of winning, the FA Cup or the Premier League?
If you're Eric Ten Hag in that dressing room, are you telling the players that you're not prioritizing the Premier League and you're going for an FA Cup, or are you telling these players to believe and fight to the last day to win the league? That's
I understand, but in terms of I understand that, and the mentality has to be there, but ultimately, if he goes full strength,
it sends to the team if he sends out rotated players and he says, boys, we're going to win the league. Or we're going to challenge to fight for this league. I think we're in a battle. So I'm going to rest you. Be fresh for Liverpool. And kids, now's your opportunity. You want a chance? You want to be part of something special? Go out there and impress me.
Yeah, no, definitely. I just feel we've had this discussion in that second leg against Nottingham Forest where there was a real chance to rotate. And here, this is not at all critical of Eric Ten Hag, but ultimately the evidence that we have when we're expecting heavy rotation that he doesn't, especially knockout football. And I'm just thinking, ultimately, yes, I do like to see the positive in terms of we are potentially in a title race and sort of go hell for leather for that. But ultimately, I do think there is a situation where Eric Ten Hag will see a real sort of feasible outlet to go win another trophy in the FA Cup. And that is where I could see a situation, which I disagree today, in going full strength, but I would see a situation where he does go quite strong against West Ham. So I'll bring up my starting 11 and saying that. I'm not Eric Ten Hag. I'm going completely different. I've gone for a heavily rotated side. I don't think any of these players started in the League Cup match. So I'm going Malassi in for Luke Shaw. I think that's a straight swap. Delot did start in the Cup, didn't he? But he obviously got hooked at halftime. So as we sort of said, is Aaron Wan-Bissaka first choice at the moment? You'd have to say maybe yes. So I'm playing Diogo Delot in here. Varane and Martinez should not be anywhere near the pitch, in my opinion, for this game. I think wrap them in cotton wool before the trip to Anfield. McTominay and Sabitzer both came off the bench in the League Cup final, but I'll be giving Casemiro and Fred, especially with the eyes towards Liverpool, the night off. And as we said, here's a completely rotated 11, Larry. Delot starting right back for Portugal. Malassi is a Dutch international. Maguire and Lindelof, both season internationals as well. McTominay, Scottish international. Sabitzer plays for Austria. And so I'm just thinking there, that is quite an experienced spine and sort of back four, back six, however you do want to look at it. My surprise, I don't know if it's shock or not, he has started a game. He has started a League Cup game and he's come off the bench in the Premier League, but Kobbie Mainoo, I'm starting at centre mid. Now, in terms of, you want to change that triangle in terms of McTominay sits by himself, Sabitzer's a little bit forward with Mainoo. That's up for debate. I wouldn't argue with anyone how you line up that three. I just think there is a situation where we do see that three. And obviously up front, look, if Anthony Martial was fit, yeah, I'll throw him in. Is he going to be fit? No, he's not. Well, if he is, what's the point? He's got to be injured next week. So I think you have to play Weghorst again. Well, no, he's like, and look, I like Martial. I know you love Martial, but ultimately, like, what do you mean? He's not going to be fit. So ultimately, play the ball.
You can't not play a player because you assume he's going to get injured.
No, but my argument there is, well, if you're going to sort of limit Weghorst minutes, wouldn't he be better off with more chances to score goals? So
but
because Martial,
so many minutes, that's the point. If Martial's fit, absolutely Martial starts.
Yeah, but we do have options to potentially play Rashford through the middle if Weghorst isn't your number 9.
Rashford needs a break more than anyone. He's the last player I want playing.
Yeah, look, I've given him the break in this in terms of Marcus Rashford. I'm playing Garnacho over him, but I just think in regards to Weghorst is doing really well, but he's one player who I could see needs a bit of a goal. And I'm just thinking if you take away that potential opportunity, what's he going to be like when he comes in for the injured Martial in 2 weeks' time, but he doesn't have that confidence? I just think you might as well give him this. And look, if Martial's fit and starts, I'd love it because I do like him. I think he makes us a better football team. But ultimately, sadly, I've just had no faith that he will be available. So I am going Weghorst, and that's an assumption. Time will tell. Got Sancho on the right, and I'd start Alejandro Garnacho on the left. So just talk to me in regards to any... Oh, I'll bring up yours and you tell me the changes in regards to any potential changes you do have from me. So that's your 11 up on screen. Talk to me.
Yeah, our teams are similar. I've gone Sancho at 10 because I think we've seen Ten Hag experiment with it a little bit, and I think this is a good opportunity to go full throttle with it. I've gone Pellistri. Did you have Pellistri starting in your team?
No.
Who did you have on the right?
I had Sancho, Weghorst through the middle, and Garnacho. So I had Sabitzer as well in midfield.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, I personally go with this team. I think Sabitzer, there's a strong argument that he should start, and maybe you could throw Sancho out wide. I'd be starting MAINOO 100%. That's the one where I'm like, absolutely.
Is it a little bit too much? And look, I agree with MAINOO. Is it a little bit too much? Like he has started a League Cup game. I think it was against Charlton, and he has come off the bench. I think we're 3-0 up against Leicester. Ultimately, a 17-year-old, I think he's still 17, don't think he's 18th birthday. We're still saying here as Man United fans, yeah, throw him in. We want to see the kids. Ultimately, this is still a big thing for a 17-year-old playing against a fully professional team in West Ham from the start. Is that a little bit much of a sort of bit of a stretch, or like could you see a real situation where he does start? Because it's not the third round against Altrincham or something. This is the quarter or round of 16 or something against West Ham, Premier League opposition. So I'm just thinking, yes, we would love to see it, but do you think we're a little bit too excited?
Well, West Ham are struggling, and I think this is a good opportunity for him. And look at the players around him. You've got some experienced pros around there. You know, you still got players who are internationals. Like you've said, this isn't Kobe Mainu being surrounded by other 18-year-olds. It's Kobe Mainu being part of a Manchester United first team. I say give him a shot. Give him at least if he gets pulled off a halftime, not a problem. Ten Hag, if he says to him, hey, mate, he's 45 minutes against grown men, just see what you can do. Great. That's all you can really ask. I want to see him given an opportunity because I think next season there is obviously a plan. He just signed a long-term deal, and there is a plan to integrate him into the squad. Otherwise, he'd be out on loan right now. So I think with that being the plan, outside of this round in the FA Cup, when are you going to get a chance to play him next? So I say give him an opportunity. I think he's got the ability. He looked good in the cameo he had in the Premier League the other week. The only way you learn is by playing games. And if you think he's good enough for the first team, which he clearly does, give him a start.
Yeah, no, look, I'd absolutely love to see it. And look, I do want to win the match, but ultimately, Liverpool match is far bigger for me this week. So we'll be interested to see.
Not a fan of Martial, is he? Every single time
Adam here, the quick we can sell
Adam's
Martial.
Saying sell him.
Ultimately, now though, Larry, even as a huge fan, as I am, but especially you are, ultimately now you're given the choice if you can get money for Anthony Martial at the moment.
Depends what comes in. If nothing else is coming in, then no. You know, I don't know. He frustrates me because he's brilliant when he's on, but he's made out of glass. He's been really frustrating. Yeah, I mean, look, if you're gonna get Osimhen from Napoli and there's a chance to sell Martial the other way, for example, yeah, I'd 100% support that at this time. But it has nothing to do with talent. That's the frustrating bit. It's nothing to do with talent. In terms of talent, he's got it all, but at his age, how old is he now? He's 27, Martial. He's not going to do it. He is what he is. He'll never fulfill his potential because he can't stay fit or consistent. And it's frustrating because all the reports coming out are, I follow The Athletic. Apparently, he was in Carrington before preseason doing extras, working on his conditioning because he felt like he had to stay fit. Just hasn't worked for him, which is the saddest part, to be honest. He's obviously trying, but it's just not happening for him.
It's one of those things. I don't think it's through any sort of lack of effort off the field from him. It's just some players are injury prone, a little bit of luck here or there. It's interesting. Chris here saying I reckon Bruno will play. Yeah, I wouldn't have Bruno anywhere near the pitch, but he plays every week. That definitely wouldn't shock me. George here with a shout. Iqbal, he is a player we've sort of both wanted to play in the team, but ultimately has he really got his chance? It does look like Kobe Mainu is ahead of him on the pecking order, but I'd definitely like to see him on the bench and involved. There was that great photo at Wembley with all the academy products in terms of McTominay, Rashford, Kobe Mainu, even the players who didn't play. Then you did see Tom Heaton in the background, who's technically an academy product from all those years ago.
Brendan Williams is getting a front seat experience as a fan. He doesn't play for United. He just kicks it.
I'd like to see him come on as well because I like Brendan Williams. Now the future is obviously away from Manchester United, but look, I'd like to see him out there for giving him one last run out at Old Trafford. Dion with a shout here along the lines of Bruno Fernandes.
Ted and Mengi. Is he?
He was down there at Wembley. He was at Wembley, so he's in and around. Eric Ten Hag obviously has him in there.
He's off
I'm not sure his fitness.
I think he is off contract this season.
I'm not sure what the situation is with a lot of the youth players. I know Kobe Mainu just signed a new sort of long-term deal. Garnacho still hasn't signed his deal. So it is very interesting. But Dion here, along the shouts of Chris saying, I reckon Bruno will play. No way he rests both centre-halves. In terms of the evidence we have of Eric Ten Hag, I would say that's probably right. There is a chance one of them does play. For me, though, I wouldn't be playing either of them. And Helg on Wheels, good to see you, mate. Evening, boys. Morning here in Norway. I don't think we rest players in knockout games. He wants to keep building on that trophy. Look, I would completely rotate, but yes, I completely agree. I do see a situation where he does. It's a different
kettle of fish. While I agree with that comment, in theory, and everything we've seen before says that you're right, you have to consider this is a new competition. And I think with Liverpool right on the horizon, there's too much to play for in the Premier League. He'd be mad to play a strong lineup. He really would, honestly. Mind you, I guarantee we're going to get a good idea of who's drunk when this game kicks off, because I promise you, whoever's had the day off, he's told them, get on the piss. I'm sure he's given a day's grace to a couple players. I have no doubt.
Well, it goes into my next point in regards to giving players the day off. Casemiro, obviously the best player in world football, did get the night off. He was over in Paris collecting his award for being in the best team, the FIFA World 11. So it's just a little bit more, because I'm never going to get sick of talking about Casemiro. But ultimately, we sort of, as Manchester United fans over the last 10 years, probably since Ronaldo was first here, we've looked at these FIFA World 11s and see Real Madrid, Real Madrid, Real Madrid, Juventus, PSG, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona. All these players fill these World 11s. Right in the middle of midfield, one of our boys is there. It's just, again, just another day where something else just makes you feel good to support United.
He looked bloody sharp too. Hell of a suit, yeah. Casemiro.
Like no short of coin, but and obviously,
I hate Stephen Howson. You see his Instagram?
No, he knows he gets around. He has a few friends in his phone now, doesn't he?
So jealous.
But, you mentioned Casemiro best in the world. There, obviously, we don't spend too much time on this podcast. We also have to say congratulations to Mary Earps, the women's goalkeeper, who she got voted in the FIFA World 11 for the women's team as well. So it was a great photo of those two, Mary Earps and Casemiro together. Obviously, Manchester United involved in those two World 11s. It is a great thing. But ultimately, in going back to your point in giving players the day off, Casemiro's had a day off. He's gone to France. I'm sure the players have been sort of celebrating, but also it has been that fine balance. There would be players who weren't involved who would have been fighting for a spot in this West Ham game. So I think whoever was at Carrington over the last 24 hours, it has been a bit of a mixed bag. So yeah, you're under the assumption that you're pretty confident in players like, let's say, Casemiro, obviously, but a Rafael Varane, Lissandro Martinez, Marcus Rashford, have had a day off to spend with their families.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, and it's good to see, really interesting time. Can I ask you, Tom, back on the game? I want to come back to the game for a second. What are your expectations? So we're both assuming it's going to be a rotated lineup. So what's a acceptable result? Because we know what social media is. You have to win, and if you don't win, it's a failure. And if it's a failure, Erik ten Hag should be sacked, and so forth and so forth. So with the lineups that we've both put out, do you expect a Manchester United win? Is that your expectation? Like, what's an acceptable result here?
Okay, I don't think it's not. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not acceptable if we don't win. Sometimes you lose football matches, so it's going to be one of those things. But I think even with a rotated side, I think in terms of West Ham in the position they're in, they're not looking at winning the FA Cup this season. They're probably going to have one or two eyes on the weekend. I'm not sure who they have on the weekend. I'll look up the Premier League fixtures for the weekend. But obviously, they've got a huge relegation battle on their card. So I do see a situation where they're dreading a trip to Old Trafford midweek. They're going to have to rest one or two players. So even with our rotated side, I am very confident in a result. Now, if we lose, we lose. Again, it's about trophies. But ultimately, for me, I do see that bigger trophy at the end of the season if we do find ourselves in a title race. And ultimately, if the FA Cup has to come at a bit of a cost, I will take that. But I'll tell you who West Ham have on the weekend. They're playing away at Brighton, so a tough game. It's one of those ones. Well, which do you weigh up if you're David Moyes? Do you weigh a trip up to Brighton or a knockout game against Manchester United? I think there is a situation where they rest players as well, and ultimately, I'm confident in Manchester United getting a result. So, but you talk about the reaction to online. Yeah, now, yes, you're right. If we lose, it'll be sack this player, sell this player, sack the manager. Now, obviously, we can dissect on what's proper analysis and what's a proper Man United fan and what's a Twitter troll. Obviously, there are differences, but I have a feeling, even with the overreaction from sort of big accounts, we do know, even if we did lose, I think off the back of the mood we're currently in, I think it would be quite a adult discussion after it compared to what we usually have seen over the last couple of years.
Depends what channel. Depends what crowd. I think you know what I'm alluding to there. But yeah, look, I think in the majority, yeah, absolutely. And if it's a rotated side, particularly if there's a kid or two out there, you can't expect too much. And I think in the grand scheme of things, all this is put in a context at the end of the season. If United go on to finish second, third, if we finish 7 points off top by the end of the season, you got to say that's a good season. You know what I mean? So, and if we're able to do that, look, if we beat Liverpool, for example, we go to Anfield. If we go to Anfield and get a draw because he rotated, I think that's a great result. And I think that's the thing. The decision is only justified after the next game. Like we said after we beat Manchester City, well, it was so good. We wanted to go and win the next two games. We got a draw and a loss. So, I mean, everything's put in a context, isn't it? So, again, if we get a point or more from Anfield, you'll applaud the squad that he puts out, and I assume he will rotate. And if we go out, no qualms from me.
Well, it goes into my next point in regards to bringing up Anfield, but off this back one, off the West Ham, just to wrap up the podcast, my mum here predicting a 2-0 win. Oh, well, I'll take that. And obviously it's my mum's birthday, so happy birthday to mum. Had lunch with her. So if you do want to wish my mum happy birthday, please do leave a like on the video. They're very much appreciated. And ultimately...
Can I ask you one more question on the game? If United are 1-0 behind against West Ham, do you think Ten Hag loses his nerve and pulls a Rashford off the bench or pulls a Bruno off the bench?
No, you have these players on the bench, obviously. But in terms of giving them 90 minutes...
Doesn't he need to rest them? Like, where do you draw the line? Like, if you're given a rest, it's a rest. So, you know what I'd love to see? Ten Hag resist putting them on the bench. Remove the option for yourself, because I think the temptation will be too great.
But then if you don't have them on the bench, you do look what our bench would be. It would be 17, 16-year-olds. I'm thinking there does need to be a bit of respect. Now, last time we were all for it, we got smacked by Astana. Like, it does need to be... You do need to treat the...
I mean, it wasn't that bad.
But it's Manchester United against Astana. You do need to treat the... And look, I understand, but ultimately that is why Erik ten Hag is paid the big bucks, and he has big decisions to make. But you mentioned Liverpool in terms of... Look, even under when we're flying under Sir Alex Ferguson, you take a draw away at Anfield, that's a brilliant result. Ultimately now, though, the position they're in, and look at the last couple of times we've played Liverpool, not this season, but in previous seasons, especially last season, we expected them to come to Old Trafford and smack us. They beat us 5-0. Don't forget that. They beat us 5-0. That beyond embarrassing. Then we went away to Anfield, and we expected to lose 4 or 5-0. They beat us 4-0. So those results were expected, Liverpool to come and win at Old Trafford, which is never the case. Even if they're flying, that's one game they have to pencil in a draw. Ultimately, yes, I'm going to take a draw at Anfield in regards to our history there, and ultimately it's one of our tougher games left this season, so that would be a point in the right direction. Ultimately, though, with our confidence in where Liverpool are, I'm telling you, Larry, I'm not predicting to go to Anfield winning 5-0. Obviously, that would be a dream, and I've already played the scenario in my head of Rashford scoring a hat-trick at the Cop End. I've played that in my head. But ultimately, I am very confident we can go and, look, I'm not teach Liverpool a football lesson or smack them off the park, but I'm very confident of getting a result, 3 points at Anfield.
You know what I think? I think I'll let you know when we do the Liverpool preview.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed that's off the back of a match against a victory against West Ham and a progression in the Cup. I don't think the Liverpool are in the FA Cup, are they? Have the week off, do they?
No idea.
The Wolves beat them. Wolves or Brighton, I forget. They are out of the Cup. And that is obviously another sort of feather in that cap of going for the FA Cup. I think a lot of the big teams are out. I think it's only us and City. I know Arsenal are out from memory, so maybe I'm wrong with that. But I have
City
a feeling
knocked them out.
So they did too, City. So look, you get through.
Did Brighton knock Liverpool out, or am I?
Yeah, I think I know Liverpool are out. I forget if it was Brighton or Wolves. I forget, but Liverpool are definitely out. And Brighton beat them. Brighton beat them earlier. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I do remember that now. The FA Cup, and defensively they're a shambles. I do see a situation now. Yes, we're not going to go and win 4 or 5-0 at Anfield, but I do see a situation. Rashford has a good game against Trent Alexander-Arnold and players like that. Our midfield will run over the top of their midfield. Casemiro against anyone in there, he could run the show by himself. Their midfield's an absolute joke at the moment. So yes, I'm not confident of going winning 4 or 5-0, but my God, I'm confident of going there and sort of slapping them about a little bit.
Yeah, we are. But you know, look, we can dedicate a whole video to Liverpool, and we will. I think the Friday night pint will be nice and juicy for that. But on the West Ham game, it's nice to actually go into a match, considering how intense the season has been, with no expectations whatsoever. Box, solid lineup, mate. I hope Martial's fit, but there's no expectations for me, to be honest. And look, I'll give my views on Liverpool, but again, just because this game's coming up, does he bring Rashford on? Does Rashford bang in a goal and then pull his hamstring? Like, you know what I mean? It's too early to talk. I'm confident about Liverpool now, but we just have to see what he does for the West Ham game. If he chooses a full-strength lineup, maybe we won't be so confident.
Yeah, especially, and let's hope that someone is handling Lisandro Martinez's drink, because we know last time he came back pissed from celebrating. It took him a couple of weeks to get back into the swing of things. So fingers crossed Lisandro Martinez is drinking responsibly. And Tom here, I'm agreeing. Honestly, there is a chance we might batter them. Not kidding, not like Real Madrid, but something 2 or 3-0. 2-0 away at Anfield, or especially 3-0, that's a battering for me in terms of how tough that place is. But we will preview that later in the week. Obviously, we'll be back probably post-match against West Ham. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff from memory here in Sydney. So that'll finish about 9 a.m. And, we'll go live with something post-match there. And, anything else, Larry? Obviously, we're on a road to 2,000 subscribers, so I'm not sure what the counter is, but if you do know anyone who likes a little bit of Man United discussion, please do send the link to this channel their way, and we do appreciate all the support, especially off the back of winning a trophy. Larry and I have been doing this podcast for a while now, and it was good just to sit back and just discuss Man United lifting a pot.
Yeah, when did we start going on YouTube, though? 2021?
I'll tell you when it was, the start of Solskjaer's last pre-season.
So it would have been late July 2021. So we fumbled and bumbled through audio, and then we thought, should we show our faces to the world? And it's been progressive growth, which has been great. 22 with us now, which is awesome. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do hit that subscribe button, because it's only from Sydney Harbour where you can get a good view of Manchester, and that's what me and Tom bring to you every single day. But
well, yes. I did see, to wrap up just on that last point there, I did see so many photos, which I'm sure everyone's sort of looking through their Twitter and seeing all these trophy celebrations and the photos of the team celebrating everything. And ultimately, I did see a photo of us at the pub at 5 o'clock Monday morning celebrating with one of the big Sydney flags. And it is one of those things which just sums up Manchester United. Fans in Manchester, Man United were down in London playing at Wembley, but Man United fans are on the other side of the world at 5 a.m. in a pub in Sydney. And I'm just thinking in terms of, yes, we want 3 points on a Saturday, we want good goals and exciting football. Ultimately, though, that story that is Manchester United, which we've discussed in the month of February in regards to Munich and everything, there is no greater story told than what is Manchester United. So long may that continue. Fingers crossed Larry and I have another couple of pots to discuss later on in this season. Fingers crossed it's a big one as well in the Premier League, because a big win at Anfield. I think Arsenal have a game midweek. I think Arsenal play at the same time as us, but in the Premier League. And we have a game in the FA Cup. So definitely some ups and downs left in this roller coaster of a Premier League title race. But until then, hope everyone has a good one. Make sure you are subscribed so you join us in the live chat post-match against West Ham. And until then, hopefully everyone has a good one, and we'll chat to you.
Cheers.